Today we'll discuss how Franklin is the main reason the rest of the group even survived the GTA 5 storyline. Let's start with Lamar. If it wasn't for Franklin, Lamar would have easily died at least a few times. Firstly, in repossession, he would have 110% died in the shootout if he was all on his own back there. Fast forward a little bit, he would probably die in the mission The Long Stretch, along with Stretch himself, when they got set up by the Ballas at that recycling yard. Then in Hood Safari, this is the situation where you could maybe argue that if Franklin wasn't there and somehow, someway it was just Trevor and Lamar, maybe Trevor would be able to get them both out of there, but if Lamar was on his own, as you saw in many of my videos, he would be dead right there on that bald dude's doorstep. Way later in the game, during the mission Lamar Down, he again falls for a setup by Stretch and gets kidnapped by the Ballas and brought out to Paleto Bay to that sawmill in the middle of nowhere. And here again, Franklin steps in to help him and save his life. Keep in mind, most of this stuff Lamar brought on himself by kidnapping Dee and trusting Stretch. Now on to Michael. So Franklin saved Michael on more occasions than one. The first time is during the mission Marriage Counseling. How, you may ask? Well, during the scene where Martin hits Michael, Franklin is the one to inform him who he's really dealing with and who he just pissed off. My point is, if Franklin wasn't there, I feel like Michael would have been a lot more of a dick to Martin, and it probably would have ended badly for Michael. As we hear during their conversation in the car just before this, Michael heavily underestimates how dangerous this guy is, and I actually covered what I think would happen to Michael had Franklin not been there in a previous video. As part of it though, it wasn't a sole topic, but there are also some a little bit less significant instances, such as during various shootouts like in Three's Company or in Blitzplay or even in Merryweather Heist. But fast forward to the big deal, which is the entirety of the Fresh Meat mission. Franklin found where Michael was being held by the Chinese thanks to Lester, and completely on his own, being a one-man army, soloed a bunch of tweaked out Chinese gangsters. You could also throw in the big one because that was another shootout that they all participated in, and finally you have the mission The Third Way. If it wasn't for Franklin right here, everyone would have died. Franklin was the one who was freaking out that him and everyone else was in big trouble, but then as he rounded up the group at the foundry, they started taking care of their enemies one by one, and that is probably the biggest instance of Franklin saving not just Michael but all of his friends. If it wasn't for him thinking like that, I say that pretty much no one would have made it out alive, as I don't think that Michael and Trevor would be able to take care of that shit show on their own, especially considering that at that point they acted like middle school kids. As for Franklin saving Trevor, well, in terms of the shootouts I mentioned, that stays the same, but one mission in specific that I have to mention in the case of Franklin saving specifically Trevor is the Predator mission, as Franklin went out of his way to help Trevor out by tailing the O'Neill brothers and taking out the last one. And also I'll be adding into this list the mission Pac-Man, at least the list of the shootouts, which Michael didn't participate in but Trevor did. And then of course the very ending of the game truly is the biggest instance of him saving Trevor as well, for reasons I mentioned earlier, but probably more so than with Michael, since it was actually Franklin to kill the triads which were targeting Trevor. And as for Lester, I mean, let's be real, even if everyone around Lester died, I think with his connections and skills, he would easily be able to just disappear without anyone finding him ever. And with that said, I want to thank you for watching this video. Leave your thoughts and opinions on this topic in the comments down below. Until next video stream, bye bye.